On the 1st of January in the year 2000, a man in Germany woke up with $6 million extra in his bank account. He did not win some kind of lottery, nor did he get a sudden or unexpected inheritance. Rather, his bank had become victim of what many had feared months, years, and even decades prior: a Millennium computer bug. As the new millennium was about to start in the year 2000, a rumor had gotten hold of most of the world. A problem started to face that computers could not properly calculate the start of a new millennium. They would for that reason crash and, according to some extremely anxious people, cause the end of the world. Some said nuclear reactors would have meltdowns, prison systems would fail and the gates would open, banks would crash, and even accidental wars would be started. The phenomena was called the Millennium Bug, or the Y2K problem, with Y2K meaning year 2000. Some of us still might vividly remember the anxious news articles, TV reports, and rumors in work cafeterias or even school playgrounds. Let's explore how much truth there actually was to the doomsday apocalypse of the Millennium Bug. Spoiler alert, it was actually much more real than most people remember it to be. Welcome to This Time in History, our 1000 subscriber special, Millennium Fever. Let me take you back to the early 90s. The world was rapidly changing. Decade-old conflicts were put to rest, information technology was on the rise, and economies were booming. People all around the world were feeling positive of the future. In 1993, a Canadian computer scientist by the name of Peter de Jager wrote an article in the Hallmark magazine Computer World, titled Doomsday 2000. In this 3-page article, he introduced the idea of the Millennium Bug to a broader audience, an idea that was introduced somewhere in the late 50s already among workers of the computer company IBM. So what was the big deal? In the early days, computers had very little memory to work with. Memory was scarce and difficult to increase. In comparison, the 1969 Apollo mission, which put the first humans on the moon, used one of the time's most advanced computers, the Apollo Guidance Computer. It weighed about 30 kilograms and was 1,000 times less powerful than any average laptop in your household right now. This made some incredibly creative code writing necessary. Since the 20th century in the foreseeable future every year would start with the number 19, they decided to cut it out of the date format software to save some space. Instead of giving the 1st of January 1969 the notation of 1-1-1969, it became 1-1-69. No problem there. Until the 19 was about to be replaced by a 20 starting in the year 2000. How would computers react to this? Peter de Jager, the man who wrote the Doomsday 2000 article, became the main face of this problem. He even testified before the United States Congress in 1996, stretching the importance of fixing the problem, and companies around the globe rapidly started to fix the problem, which was funnily portrayed in the following scene of the 1999 movie Office Space.
So, where do you work, Peter?
In a tech.
And what do you do there?
I sit in a cubicle and I update bank software for the 2000 switch.
What's that?
Well, see, they wrote all this bank software, and to save space, they used 2 digits for the date instead of 4, so like 98 instead of 1998. So I go through these thousands of lines of code, and it doesn't really matter.
As a result, the world started taking the problem seriously. The US government had started a special committee led by US Senator Bob Bennett, and their government spent around $9 billion on the issue. In total, worldwide, the estimated spend was about $300 and $500 billion between governments, organizations, and companies. This money was spent on rewriting software and replacing hardware. As the year 2000 neared, the problem got more attention. Some groups took it to religious levels and turned it into a more metaphysical doomsday. Others started stockpiling, preparing for the worst.
Yvonne and Chester Rich are getting ready for Y2K.
A lot of crackers and stuff for the cats.
Salmon. We have a gas stove so I can cook. If I have water, we're going to stock up on a little water.
And yet others thought not much of it.
They're making too much out of it. It's not going to be anything. Just another day. Of course, I may be wrong.
As New Year's Eve neared, people started doing a bit of panic buying nonetheless. And then it was time. the 31st of December 1999, New Year's Eve, 10 seconds before the next millennium, a new set of 1,000 years for humanity to prosper, a full list of New Year's resolutions, or the end of the world. So what happened? On the 1st of January, many woke up with a small hangover of the festivities. The new millennium was celebrated wildly around the world. The magical number 2000 was reached. A fun side note, the new millennium technically didn't start until a year later, on the 1st of January 2001, as on that day 2000 years would have actually passed since the year 0, but that didn't matter. Reaching the year 2000 was magical. But what of Y2K? At first, not much seemed to have happened, and in the days and weeks after January 1st, people started calling the Y2K bug a scam that was carefully crafted by a group of people to make a lot of money. But this wasn't entirely true. Here's a few things that actually did happen. First, the US went without most of its spy satellites for days. The US government had spent around $3.5 billion on patching its defense and observation system in preparation for Y2K, but still it went without its most important spy satellites for days. It turned out later that it was not the Y2K bug, but rather the software patch that was supposed to prevent it, which was the problem. The first Danish baby born in the year 2000 was registered as 100 years old. This funny occurrence happened to many more organizations around the world, as the systems registered birth dates 100 years back. This also went for some banks, meaning that a man in Germany received 100 years of interest rates in one transfer, translating to almost $6 million. The bank quickly corrected the mistake upon finding it out. Some scarier stuff happened in Japanese nuclear power plants, where systems actually shut off and alarms went off because of the supposed bug. All turned out to be fine in the end and nothing dangerous happened, but some people point to those incidents and state if investments wouldn't have been made, the bug would have caused much more chaos. A couple months later, Bob Bennett, that Utah senator who was in charge of the National Committee on the Y2K bug in the US, declared victory on the bug on the Senate floor and therewith closed the committee for good. Nobody was really listening though, as the problem was already forgotten about. With the new millennium, new big challenges lied in wait, of which we still feel the aftermath nowadays. Thank you to our first 1000 subscribers. I hope you enjoyed this little trip and see you next time in history.